They are beyond parody at this point. Joe and Jill Biden recently appeared on The View to polish the former president's legacy, but I believe it backfired. Instead of damage control, they sparked backlash, especially after casually throwing shade at people without naming names. Just watch this clip before I tell you why it blew up so fast.
Some of the reporting is that people like the former president you served under, Barack Obama, George Clooney, a longtime supporter of yours, major Democratic donor, Chuck Schumer, your dear friend Nancy Pelosi, also had expressed concerns about your ability to do the job for 4 more years. Can I ask what your relationship is with President Obama and how you address those concerns that they raised?
Well, look, I think that the only reason I got out of the race was because I didn't want to have a divided Democratic Party. It was a simple proposition. And so that's why I got out of the race. I thought it was better to put the country ahead of my interest, my personal interest. I'm not being facetious. I'm being deadly earnest about that.
Yeah, we know.
And I think that, we still, let's put it this way. I had 6 more months. I did a pretty good job in 6 months.
First of all, we didn't even know who was running the country in at least the last 6 months. And there are multiple reports that allege Biden wasn't the one calling the shots. Second, this whole narrative that he stepped aside to preserve party unity is pure fiction. This isn't some story from decades ago based on speculation. It happened less than a year ago, and we have solid proof that key donors and party elites were the ones behind the decision. Allegedly. Simply put, Joe didn't step aside voluntarily. Allegedly, he was pushed out. Even his own former chief of staff and close advisor publicly admitted this on X, confirming that pressure came from the top to get him out of the race.
Since you left office, there have been a number of books that have come out, deeply sourced from Democratic sources, that claim in your final year there was a dramatic decline in your cognitive abilities. In the final year of your presidency, what is your response to these allegations, or are these sources wrong?
They are wrong. There's nothing to sustain that, number one. Number two, think of what we're left with. We're also in a situation where we found ourselves unable to deal with a lot of just basic issues, and which I won't go into in the interest of time. And so we went to work. And we got it done.
Spoiler alert, nothing actually got done. Well, unless you count pardoning close allies and protecting their inner circle. That part moved quickly, and when it came to real issues like securing the border, there was zero effort. But if you notice, Biden spoke for nearly a minute without actually saying anything and kept on jumping from one talking point to another. That's when Jill caught the cue that he was about to go on one of his now typical mumbling trips and decided to take control of the interview.
One of the things that
and Alyssa, one of the things I think is that the people who wrote those books were not in the White House with us. And they didn't see how hard Joe worked every single day. I mean, he'd get up, he'd put in a full day, and then at night I'd be in bed, reading my book, and he was still on the phone reading his briefings. Working with staff. I mean, it was nonstop. It's the White House, being president is not like a job. It's a lifestyle. It's a life that you live. You live it 24 hours a day. And Joe worked really hard. I think he was a great president. And if you look at things today, give me Joe Biden anytime.
Lady, you can have him. He is all yours. Good luck. Jokes aside, though, you can almost feel like Jill is speaking from a place of experience, almost as if she were in the inner circle that was running the shadow presidency, allegedly, according to multiple alleged reports. It's honestly hard to watch, not just because of what it says about Biden's condition, but because it shows how much stage managing is happening behind the scenes. You can see that Jill seems more like a handler than a supportive spouse. At this point, she should feel at least a little guilty for dragging her husband through all of this. The man should be retired, relaxing on some beach, not trying to keep up with the scripted talking points while sitting next to Joy Behar and Sonny Hostin of The View. The issues of Joe Biden's debate performance also came up, and boy oh boy, you've never seen delusion like this in your life.
Well, what freaked everybody out was that debate.
Yep.
It wasn't a great night. It was a bad night.
Terrible night.
And everybody lost their mind. This is what started both sides with this, oh, he can't do this, this needs to stop. Why do you think that caught fire? Why do you think people bought into it, especially the Democrats?
Well, first of all, we still were winning primaries. We were still doing everything. The Democratic Party at large didn't buy into it, but the Democratic leadership and some of the very significant contributors did, even though we raised enormous. Like when I left the race, Kamala had hundreds of millions of dollars. She had the best organized campaign. Every state was organized, et cetera. But, you know, what happens is that it took on a life of its own. And I had I'm going to say something outrageous. I've not lost many debates in my life. I've been pretty good at doing that. I was sick. No excuse. But I was not.
It's an explanation.
By the way, I just want to say I've heard multiple members of The View throw shade about that debate, just saying. And it's an explanation my 5-year-old cousin would buy. To answer Whoopi's question, it wasn't after the debate that we started noticing. People were talking about Biden's mental decline long before that. We've eyes, ears, and common sense. What happened is after the debate, the issue became so obvious that even Joe's hardcore supporters just couldn't deny it anymore. I mean, who can blame them? He basically said we finally beat Medicare on national TV and at some point transitioned into talking about golf. That wasn't just a bad night, it was a clear sign that something was wrong. Seeing his response, his handler decided to step in and throw in some more emotional messaging without anyone even breathing in her direction.
Joe came on, I went onto the stage after the debate. I mean, we all saw it. It was terrible. So Joe looked at me and he said, I'll use screwed up. He said, he didn't say that. And I said, yeah.
We all know Joe Biden. We know what he said.
And I said, yeah, you did, Joe. But we have hundreds of people waiting for us. Put your shoulders back. Walk out there. You know, be who you are. And we were not going to let 90 minutes of a debate define his presidency and all those years of service. Yeah.
That's too bad because that moment was the turning point after which even his side started attacking him. What's funny is that we still hear some chatter from the left about how historic or successful Biden's term has been, yet no one ever seems to offer a clear argument to support that claim. They're not even using the Bidenomics nonsense anymore. Their only appeal to voters was that Joe wasn't Trump. But seeing how terrible the last 4 years were, even that wasn't landing anymore.
Naturally, you are your husband's fiercest advocate and a close advisor. And it's been reported that you created a sort of cocoon around him and kind of limited his interactions with the media and others. Do you think you could have been too close to the situation to objectively gauge whether he could handle a full 4 more years?
I was with Joe day and night. I saw him more than any other person. I woke up with him. I went to bed at night with him. So I saw him all throughout the day, and I did not create a cocoon around him. I mean, you saw him in the Oval Office. You saw him making speeches. He wasn't hiding somewhere. I didn't have him, sequestered in some place. I mean, that's
Wish she had.
Nice comedic timing, Mr. President, but does your wife not realize she's doing exactly what she's denying? Jill continuously claimed Joe's fully in charge, only to show us the opposite the entire time. I think this appearance proves they haven't learned a single thing. They couldn't even handle a softball interview on The View, which is one of the most controlled, friendly environments imaginable. If you're a Democrat, it goes to show that we dodged a bullet with a potential second Biden term. I'd love to know your thoughts here, though, so let's get the conversation rolling in the comments down below. And if you want your friends and family to get their daily dose of coverage from an independent source like us, please share the video. It means the world. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.